Alright, welcome back to another video. So with today's video, I wanted to talk about dopamine and how you can actually use dopamine to your own advantage. Basically, I believe you can actually use dopamine to become addicted to something that you really want to do. And in our case, it's going to be mostly about dropshipping. But you can really use this for anything. It doesn't have to be dropshipping. It can just be anything that's kind of good that you want to be addicted to. But you need to understand what dopamine used and how it's always been used in your life. But I know that a lot of people kind of hear dopamine and have a bad image of it because of how it's always described in, giving you like a corn addiction or, being addicted to your phone and social media, like all of these things. It's actually always been put on a really bad light. But I believe you can actually use it to benefit a lot of things that you want to do. But you need to understand what it is first. And I would recommend watching this podcast by The Diary of a CEO. I'll plug the link in the description. But basically, in a nutshell, we use dopamine for everything in our life. Literally starting from eating food, like being able to actually want to eat food. Our brains is sent dopamine to do it, to conduct that action, right? So like something as simple as eating to even something as crazy as like getting a gambling addiction or alcohol addiction or whatever it is, all those bad addictions, like they all also have dopamine. So knowing that, like a lot of our problems that we dislike and that we think we don't have control over, it's really actually just dopamine. When you overly or excessively eat too much food and you get overweight and you're like, I don't know, I'm addicted to the caffeine, I'm addicted to the sugar, I'm addicted to this. Those are all like kind of just excuses. The truth is you're actually addicted to the dopamine hit every time you eat it because, you can't stop eating the food probably because you only eat when you're kind of sad and the food that you eat makes you happy. So every time you eat the chips, it gives you that dopamine hit. But then for me, when I kind of found that out, I was like, that kind of makes me think that I can actually lose my addiction a lot easier, knowing that it's actually just dopamine and not something that's like out of my control, right? Like understanding that it's actually just dopamine that's making me addicted to something makes me feel like I can actually take control of myself more because I don't want to lose control to the dopamine, right? So that's kind of how I've seen dopamine now, how like if I'm addicted to something, I need to understand what's actually giving me that dopamine hit to stop myself from doing it. So if I'm eating too much food, why am I eating too much food? And, when's the instance when I am eating too much? Is it because when I'm really tired and depressed and, I want to eat snacks just to brighten my day up or, drink soft drinks because, the sugar makes me feel a lot happier when I do drink it with my meal. Stuff like that, like being able to understand when you're eating it and why you're eating it to stop the dopamine from happening will easily stop your addiction. But then how can you use it to kind of create an addiction that you want, right? Like an addiction that can actually benefit you. And in our case is dropshipping. And for me, I didn't realize this, of course, until I listened to the podcast. But if I look back onto it, in my first journey of dropshipping, I made my very first sale after like a week of starting. Like literally like a week of posting my ads. After a week, I had my first sale. And that was most likely where I gained my first dopamine hit, was seeing that first sale when I woke up from bed. And then the next day I got like another 2 sales when I woke up from bed. I was so excited. I was pumped and I was like, this is crazy. Like this actually works. And from that day on, I never looked back and I never stopped. And so basically, if you want to create that addiction, you need to understand that which one thing you'll do in that activity that will cause that dopamine hit. And in our case, it's getting that first sale and getting that first viral video. And I promise you, like after you've made your first sale in dropshipping, there is just no way that you're going to think that this isn't going to work. And you're constantly probably going to be thinking of how you can make it work for yourself. And it's probably eventually going to come up to putting the effort in, putting the times in to be able to achieve it. But then by that point, you won't even think about the dopamine, because the dopamine's already hit so much that it's literally just an everyday thing. So yeah, to cause that addiction, you will need to, when you start, you need to do it until you do make those first sales, or you make, your first viral video. And once you do kind of create that, I feel like eventually it'll kind of feel easier to just understand that dropshipping can work, and that, this isn't a lie. Because the whole problem, I think, is like people who start and after like 2 weeks they stop is probably because they're like contemplating if this is even real, if this is even legit. And yeah, like I would say if I didn't do Facebook ads in the start and I did organic in the start, I probably wouldn't have done as much as I am at now, because it was so much harder to make sales organically compared to Facebook ads. Facebook ads was super easy to make my first sale, but then obviously I was losing money. So yeah, I don't know, it's something you want to look for yourself to see which one you want to use to start. I would say Facebook ads is probably easier to make your first sale, but then if you don't have any guidance, you'll probably be losing money. So it's something for you to carefully consider. But then with TikTok, if you're doing like organically, I guess making your first viral video is probably the aim you want to go for. But then it's also not easy to make a viral video as well. Like a viral video is like 100K views, like bare minimum. But yeah, basically that's how I would use dopamine to become addicted to the craft that I want to be addicted to. And you can use this thing for literally anything you want to do in life, right? You just need to understand in that thing you want to do what the rewarding system is. And once you know what it is, to just get that first reward. And after you've gotten that first reward, it'll be a lot easier to just keep on going. But yeah, that's how I think I would use dopamine. And honestly, I think it's one of the biggest secrets I think that no one is really talking about, probably because not many people understand how it works. But I would say dopamine is probably one of the strongest kind of tools you can use. And it's, again, it's kind of like a superpower, right? Within your body, understanding that if you use this dopamine thing, you can literally do anything in life. You just need to get that first hit. And after your first hit, you'll be straight addicted to it. So yeah, I hope you guys kind of learned something. And, if you're interested in learning more about the dopamine, watch the podcast that I have in the link in the description. I promise you, you will not regret it, especially if you're starting out and you're kind of struggling to keep going. Understanding how dopamine works and how you can use it for your advantage will definitely help you a lot with dropshipping. I know it's definitely the hardest part is starting, because it's a lot of effort trying something that you don't even know if it can work or not, right? It's literally just a guess. Like you're just doing it, but you won't know until you make results, right? So try to make your first result with anything it is. Like even if you want to do like an SMMA or, some sort of agency, locking in your first client, right? If your goal is constantly to lock in your first client, there is no way that you will fail, and you'll just create that addiction after your first client. So yeah, something for you guys to think about, something for you guys to learn, and I hope you guys got something out of it, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.